Leah Clearwater had always been a force of nature. Not by choice, but because the world had forced her to be. She had endured the pain of transformation, the mental torture of the pack bond, the humiliation of loving someone who no longer loved her, and worst of all, the stagnation of a life that seemed to offer her nothing but eternal, contained rage. With every patrol, with every howl at night, Leah felt something inside her rusting. The others moved on. Sam had his life with Emily, Seth remained the sunshine of their mother, even Jacob had found purpose with the Cullens. And her? She was still the only she-wolf, trapped in a body that couldn't stop shifting, in a mind that couldn't breathe without hearing the thoughts of others. Until one night, facing the raging sea of La Push, she decided she was done. No more howling, no more obeying, no more being the bitter shadow of a world that never chose her. She began her search in secret. She started reading her grandfather's old journals, a respected man in the tribe who spoke of forest spirits and swamp women, wise ones who once lived beyond the Olympic Mountains, deep in the thickets no one dared to cross. According to legend, they knew secrets even the wolf ancestors feared. Leah packed light, a notebook, water, and a chain that had belonged to her father. She didn't say goodbye, not even to Seth. She knew if anyone in the pack heard her thinking about her plan, Jacob would come after her. And this was hers alone. After several days of traveling, she found it, a moss-covered cabin lost in a silent clearing. 3 women lived there, not young, but not old either. Their presence seemed to bend time. They had eyes that never blinked and spoke in whispers. The wind itself seemed afraid to interrupt. "You've come to break your bond with the wolf spirit," said the one with a braid of branches. "Yes, I'm tired of being an aberration," Leah said bluntly. The witches didn't laugh, didn't act surprised. They just watched her for a long while. "You can change your fate," said another, with a trembling voice, "but everything that breaks leaves a scar." Leah accepted the price without question. In exchange for her freedom, she would give up her bond with the pack, her memories of life as a wolf, and something else, something they didn't fully reveal. The ritual was long and strange. Bathed in smoke, submerged in an icy lake, Leah felt her body break free from an invisible tether. When she awoke, gasping on a bed of wet earth, she no longer felt the warmth of the pack. The buzzing of their thoughts was gone. She didn't feel the call to shift. For the first time in years, she was alone in her own mind. Free. She returned to La Push weeks later. Not as the bitter she-wolf she had been. Something had changed. She walked differently, looked differently. "Leah?" said Seth, running toward her. His voice trembled. "Where were you?" "Finding myself," she answered simply, hugging him for the first time in a long while. Jacob and the others tried to understand. Leah only smiled. She didn't explain. She didn't need to anymore. She owed them nothing. But soon, they realized something was wrong. The wolves began to have nightmares. The forest seemed restless. And Emily began to get sick. Leah didn't understand at first. Until one night, staring at her reflection in the lake, she saw it. A shadow behind her, clinging to her back. Something that wasn't hers, but that she had brought back from the ritual. The witches had freed her from the wolf, but not without consequences. And now, what Leah had brought back with her was hungry. The reflection on the lake flickered like glass stirred by the wind. Leah couldn't stop staring. That shadow haunting her wasn't part of the forest, or of her. But it followed. Always. Ever since she returned, it had been there, clinging like a second skin, invisible to everyone but her instinct. At first, she thought it was just after effects of the ritual, but every day, the shadow grew. First, it drifted behind her. Then, she felt it in the corners of her house. And finally, it started touching what Leah loved, Emily. She found her one morning, trembling, eyes wide open, as if she'd seen something beyond this world. Sam was desperate. He didn't understand what was happening, but Leah did. She remembered the trembling-voiced witch's warning. Everything that breaks leaves a scar. And the scar, it seemed, had shape, a life of its own. It wasn't a curse, but an echo. The spirit of the wolf that had been expelled from her soul hadn't vanished. It remained, loose, wandering, bodiless, without purpose. And now it sought vengeance for being denied, for being exiled. Leah then understood that she couldn't just change her fate without paying the price. She had freed the wolf, but also the pain. The only way to make it right was to face it. One night, she returned to the clearing where she had found them, but this time the witches were gone. Only silence. Only the dense, expectant forest. Leah closed her eyes and called it. Not with her voice, but with her soul. She felt it coming like a cold breeze brushing her neck, like a breath over her skin. "I know you're angry," she whispered. "I know you left me when I needed you most, but I left you too. I betrayed you." The spirit of the wolf appeared, not as a physical creature, but as a flame shadow beneath her skin, a form emerging from her chest, taking its old shape, golden eyes, fangs, fury. "I don't want to erase you," Leah said through tears. "I just want to be me, to live without the echo of what hurt me." For the first time, the wolf looked at her with compassion. Then it spoke, not in words, but in feeling. Acceptance. Leah understood. It wasn't about fleeing the wolf or casting it out. It was about reconciling with it. Acknowledging that, for years, it had been her shield, her strength, her only way to survive when no one else saw her. She knelt in the mud and opened her chest, symbolically, to what she once was. Come back, but this time, not to control, to coexist. The wind shifted, the forest lit faintly under the moon, and the shadow merged with her. She didn't transform again. She didn't run through the trees as a wolf, but the spirit stopped chasing her. It was part of her, at peace. Emily healed. The pack's nightmares vanished, and Leah began to live, not as a wolf, not as a martyr, not as a victim, as a woman. Months passed. Jacob visited her one afternoon, curious about her calm. Leah offered him tea. They no longer argued. There was no more resentment. "Did you get revenge?" he asked, half joking. Leah smiled softly. "No, I forgave myself." And for the first time in her life, Leah Clearwater felt that she was enough.